Trump today keeping up his attacks.
Because I know what to do. Hillary doesn't know what to do. Did you see her yesterday? She has no clue about what we're talking about. Folks, she has no clue.
And amid reports of tensions between Trump and the Republican Party, today a strong show of support from RNC Chair Reince Priebus.
And don't believe the garbage you read. Let me tell you something. Donald Trump, the Republican Party, all of you, we're going to put him in the White House and save this country together.
Here's an idea. Let's for a few moments stop worrying and whining about who said what and who can't seem to tell fact from fiction. Let's say we focus on some of the real meat in this political climate. Let's start with a candidate who espouses the same old routine of raising taxes to pay for government. Let's include the candidate who won't release tax returns and could slap down all talk of hiding anything if those returns were simply made public. And then make a turn to a candidate who has to answer questions about the connection between what they did in a past governmental life and a nonprofit foundation. A connection that sure looks like influence peddling to anybody with half a working brain cell. But the truth needs to get out there right now. You can add your calls to the mix if you want. Come on. 1-877-Newsmax, 1-877-639-7629. Let's welcome back, take a breath, one of the more outspoken members of our roster here, the big data and counterterrorism expert, perhaps the only conservative Muslim pundit, Sultan joins us once again. Good to see you. Let's go ahead and get started here, my friend, with Hillary Clinton and the Clinton Foundation. A top aide to the former Secretary of State went to Manhattan to interview candidates to head the Clinton Foundation, looking as if perhaps someone wanted to go ahead and get a job in the State Department. New emails from Hillary Clinton's tenure as Secretary of State talk about whether or not there was foundation influence on the State Department during her tenure, specifically indicating that somebody, again, may have been looking for a job. Is it not fair to say that when it comes down to government, influence peddling, it's part of what Washington is built on, pretty much? I think the Potomac would actually swallow all the buildings if we had no influence peddling. But this is the Secretary of State. This is the possible President of the United States. This has got to get a deep examination before Election Day, yes?
Well, I think, listen, everyone is aware of the fact that lobbyists exist, and everyone understands that peddling exists to a degree. And as a lot of folks have said, you know, there's only a handful of different types of liars that are politicians. But there's a callous disregard for America when Nancy Pelosi starts calling this a digital Watergate. And there's a huge, huge conflict of interest when you look at Clinton's tax filings and you find that 96% of her charitable donations were to her own foundation.
Which are legal, but they are damn questionable.
They're very questionable, you know, and it's questionable when there's all of this focus on Donald Trump, when there's all of this focus on pretty much any candidate inside of this race as to like what financial propriety has been kept and what hasn't been kept. And now you throw this question into the mix of what exactly was peddled here. Was it paying for access? Was it paying for policy? Was it unfair access that was given that could have potentially influenced things like Libya? You know, we have serious questions as Americans, and I think we have longer term questions to start looking at if people are even still considering her as a viable candidate.
Is it not fair to say that if you want to become President of the United States, and this goes for Hillary Clinton, Gary Johnson, Donald Trump, whatever, when something comes up, you've got to get on it right away, and you have to immediately answer, if not immediately, but 10 seconds earlier than that, what the American people are interested in talking about and what they want to know. The Clintons right now, the Clinton campaign, the campaign, not the foundation. They got to get out in front of this, and they have to give us the truth. They got to give us facts. They have to give it to us now, or else, just like a lot of other people, we're going to think they're hiding something. And you and I both know that this can happen in short order if somebody wants to get it done.
Barack Obama had set this up for us. You know, his was the first real campaign that focused on Twitter and focused on the internet. Hillary Clinton herself has been very, very heavily involved in running attack ads on 4chan and running, you know, trolling really even on Facebook. But what Donald Trump has pointed out is that in 250 days, she hasn't had a press conference. She hasn't really addressed a lot of these issues.
Well, no, that's not entirely fair. She had a press conference last week.
She had a press. She's had a lot of speaking engaged a lot of speaking on the tour. But I mean, and I guess we'll table that because it's really what do we qualify as a press conference,
Sure.
right? But the challenge is that she hasn't really addressed any of these issues, and very much like we're seeing with Obama doctrine, which was a wait and see attitude. Let's find out what happens later, and later led to ISIS. Later led to a lot of problems. If this is the type of attitude she's taking inside of her campaign policy, what could be expected of her as a president?
I completely agree, and I would think that whether you're a Democrat or a Republican, you have to ask the exact same questions because these are the people you want to become your next president. You mentioned taxes in there briefly. The word came about, so let's focus on that for a second here. I wanted to get your take on this too. Donald Trump spoke with our own J.D. Hayworth in an exclusive interview last night, and he talked about the benefits of his tax plan. Now, here's what he said.
We're cutting taxes. We're simplifying all taxes for everybody, including for corporations, and we're bringing down business tax down to 15%. We're lowering taxes to get money back in. You know, we have trillions of dollars just trillions of dollars of corporate money outside of the United States. We're bringing that down to 10% so people can bring in, companies can bring in these trillions of dollars and put them to work here.
Is it not fair to say that when we're talking about taxes, there are those who look at Donald Trump's tax plan, they're not impressed? To be very honest, some experts. There are some experts who are not impressed with Hillary Clinton's tax plan either. Again, let's be very honest. But when you look at what Hillary Clinton and the Democrats are always talking about, it's tax, 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 tax. It seems as if in one way, shape, form, or another, they're going to drop a tax through. Somebody's going to pay for it. And we are still looking at massive waste in the American government that could pay for everything, yet nobody wants to go after it, especially the Democrats who are always looking to tax people.
The big difference in between Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton, I think that a lot of Americans are focused on, is Donald Trump would be the disruption of 22 years of sameness, whether it was Republican or Democrat, inside of Washington. Everything that you have as the foundational structures could be potentially disrupted. It could be altered. We could have savings that are brought together from just even bringing certain agencies in cahoots with one another that could bring down the cost of intelligence gathering, of data sharing by billions and billions of dollars per annum. Both of their tax plans, I think, are a little bit ill-formed at this juncture. Hillary's talking about taxing the middle class to an exceeding degree. The question I have is, when 50% of America is making $50,000 or less, so roughly about GDP or less, where exactly are you going to levy these taxes? When you have Obamacare that is facing bankruptcy with many of the exchanges in many states, how are you going to fix that and roll out single payer when you have these tremendous amounts of costs to account for? Exactly. And how are you bringing business back? Okay, you know, it's like looking at Texas. Why was Texas successful? Texas was successful because they had a governor, Perry, who brought business in from all across America by giving incentives. I think what Trump is saying here, and this is what we're hearing, is that when you have a lot of companies that have expropriated their operations to places like Ireland, to India, and are working inside of a more international arena to avoid paying tax here, if you were to give them a fair opportunity and a fair advantage, that brings jobs home.
Got
but that
you.
doesn't just
we have to stop there
home.
because we're going a little long on this, Oz. Unfortunately, I got a couple of phone calls I want to get in here. I want you to hear two phone calls, Oz, and I want you to comment on both of these. Rich is in White Plains, New York. He thinks Donald Trump is crazy. That's exactly what he's saying to me right here in the teleprompter that's printed to me. So, Rich, I'm going to give you 30 seconds. Tell us why.
Ed, Donald Trump often refers to his ability to assemble the most ignorant of the electorate as a movement, and I agree, it is a movement, a bowel movement. We can always rely on the Democrat Party to provide Americans with political excrement, sleazy, lying, unprincipled politicians like Obama, Reid, Pelosi, and now Hillary Clinton, but the extended family of Forrest Gump has managed to turn out enough voters to provide the Republican Party with their own fecal candidate.
Rich, be very careful because I'm the wordsmith in the group here and you're starting to challenge me. Thank you very much. Steve is in Hickman, California. Steve, you think Donald Trump, you agree with Trump that Obama caused ISIS, but I'm going to give you 30 seconds right here now. Can you respond to what Rich just said when he was talking about Donald Trump being crazy?
Oh, Donald Trump is not crazy. He's probably one of the smartest men in America.
Why? Why? Tell me why.
Why? Because he is a great businessman. He is a great speaker. He knows what America needs. We need to close our borders. We need to change some laws. like the law that says anyone who walks into a hospital must be treated or you get a $50,000 fine.
Okay, I got to leave you there because I'm all out of time. I wanted to give it a chance. 15 seconds, Oz, last word. What do you think of those two calls?
I'll just throw this out there. Hillary statistically has voted to build a wall or to build a barrier as many times as she said that she hasn't done this. So her track record speaks different volumes. I think what we have to look at right now is what's best for America. And the next 2 to 3 months are pretty much going to have you deciding as the voter, who do you think is looking at your best interest for the next 4 years?
There it is. Let the voter decide. Oz Sultan, always a pleasure, my friend. Thanks for joining us. All right, from a time where politics was even more dangerous than it is today. We'll talk about that and also saddle up, if you will, for something special on the Hardline next.